Space, the final frontier. My name is Captain Foley, and these are my adventures. Captains StarLog, November 18th, 2016. Welcome back, everybody. I am Captain Foley, and I just want to start today off by reading something out of What Would Captain Kirk Do? Surround yourself with excellence. Don't be afraid to let your colleagues each have their own moment to shine. Envious leaders select an inept crew to make themselves feel superior. But great leaders embrace those they can learn from and push them to great heights. And I'd like to think that I do that with my crew. Samuel is great at pushing me, making me perform at my best, and I really appreciate that, all the input from him as well, plus the whole admin team for Trekyards.com, or Trekyards.com, and the Trekyards Facebook page. They are all fantastic. They all have their own views and ideas, and we love getting input from everybody and making the show and the page and the group and everything something that you guys can really enjoy being a part of. So thank you to all the crew that handle everything for us and work with us. I think I've built up quite a good crew, and I think that Trekyards really shines in that regard. So on to today's topic. I basically want to just kind of discuss the political landscape surrounding the Discovery era. So I'll do that in just a second, but first I did have to put Sally down, actually earlier than anticipated. I had to put her down on Sunday night, which was really heartbreaking. It was a really rough day. The following 2 days were kind of rough for me. Got a lot of guilt. I blame myself for, having to say, okay, now's the time, blah, 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 but literally when she woke up on Sunday morning, she couldn't walk. She didn't have use of her back legs, so it was time, and we kind of rushed that through. So and I was there for the whole thing, seeing her fall asleep, and I wanted to be there for her so she wasn't afraid. She wasn't with people she didn't know. So but that was really hard for me to see that, and I really thought I would deal with it better than I did. But anyway, sorry for starting the log off with that, but it's something that's really important to me, and yeah, I just wanted to talk about that for just a brief second. So anyway, so moving on to the political landscape of Discovery. Discovery is set in a very interesting time, 10 years before TOS. You've got the Enterprise is already launched. It is under the command of, I believe it would be Captain April at that time, or just transitioning to Captain Pike. So there's new Constitution class ships out there that are exploring. Their main focus is exploring. It's not a military aspect. There's no visible weapons on the ships, as we know. Gene Roddenberry didn't want that because it was a ship of exploration. It didn't look hostile at all, but they did have the firepower to back themselves up in a fight should that occur. So it's kind of a time of peace. We've got the Xindi thing just happened. If you're following the Enterprise timeline, which you should really, I guess. Like I said, I'm just finishing up season 3 now, and really enjoying it. And I think it does kind of fit in because the sphere builders are trying to turn the Expanse into their own. They're trying to adapt it for their conditions, their lifestyle, and it is a temporal incursion, so it is something that didn't happen in the original timeline. So I don't really have a problem incorporating it. So we have the whole Xindi thing. 7 million people on Earth got annihilated, but that's kind of been put to bed now. We've kind of fixed the whole Xindi sphere builder issue. But I'm sure it's still really prevalent and dominant in the back of a lot of people's minds at the time, especially the civilian population. I would think would be very traumatized by that, and I think that speaks a lot to Pacific 201's kind of view as well, with just after the Romulan War, which this is also after the Romulan War has happened. Now, in the original Romulan War by FASA, the Romulan ships were much bulkier and older style, but so were the Federation ships. We were dealing with the Daedalus class and whatnot, which I like that whole aspect. There's a book, Starfleet Year One, where they only have a certain number of Daedalus class ships that are being launched. They're the newest of the fleet, and these captains are scrambling for command of the ships, which is a fantastic story and a great book. And I like to believe that that's my canon. It does say as the beginning of that book, this book does not take into account any of the events of Star Trek Enterprise. So it's basically, I guess, before the temporal incursion happened that created the little kind of slightly offset Enterprise era, which resulted in another temporal thing with the Xindi. So there are a lot of shattered little fragments in the universe, I believe, and each one contributes to the prime timeline in its own way. But I think that all of them are very relevant and very possible. So we've got just getting over the Romulan War with the older style ships. The Romulans, there was no face-to-face communications. There was only audio communications. So we don't know what Romulans look like. We have details of their ships, that they did have bird motifs on them, things like that. But they were bigger, bulkier. Now the Romulans have gone back into hiding after the peace treaty had been signed. The Romulan zone is the neutral zone is established. So the Romulans are kind of being hush-hush now again, which again happens later, before TNG. There's 80 years where we don't even hear from the Romulans. So the Romulans are very secretive that way. They tend to keep to themselves, kind of build up some, kind of military force or confidence in themselves, and then all of a sudden try to expand, and then go back into hiding, kind of thing. So we've got the Xindi thing that happened, which would have scared a lot of people. We've got the Romulan war, which just finished. We've got a lot of tensions with the Klingons at this time. The Klingons are kind of a major player on the scene in these early days of the Federation, which is another aspect to it as well. This is early Federation. The Federation was just formed just a few years prior, at the end of Star Trek Enterprise. So we've got the still have the cough, guys. Still have the cough. We got the Vulcans. We got the Andorians. We got the Tellarites. We got the humans. We've got a few other races that have signed on for the Federation. It's not a huge superpower. It is later, of course, in TNG era, but I think there's seven species initially that form the Federation. So you've got that new political environment as well. You've got new races interacting with each other, trying to work together, sharing technology, sharing ideas, sharing advancements, developing ships together, creating a standardized Federation or style fleet. So it's a great time to really set a series, but at the same time, the prequel thing does bother me because, like I've said before, it limits what you can do effectively with storytelling and whatnot, because there are pre-established things that need to happen or not happen. You can explain some of them away, like an Enterprise meeting the Ferengi and the Borg. They either never identified themselves or it was never put in a captain's log or whatever, so we don't know that we'd met them before. It's perfectly fine and acceptable, but I think, as a lot of people have been saying, they would have preferred that Discovery or the new series be set, after Voyager, after the events of Voyager, even in the missing years that we don't really. Well, see, this goes to the prequel thing as well. The missing years between Star Trek VI and TNG would have been awesome to set a series in, I think, and that was the initial rumor, which I would have loved to see. You got Enterprise C, you got the Ambassador class ships, you've got, again, political tensions with the Romulans a little bit, because how does the Enterprise C get destroyed? Protecting the Kittimer, protecting the outpost from the Romulans. So there is that aspect as well, which would have been very cool to see. Again, I think people would have complained anyway, but I think that's more of an interesting time to explore. We've got TOS, we've got Enterprise. Do we really need to shoehorn one in the middle there? I think it's an unequivocal yes, and it's an unequivocal no. I know those two cancel each other out, but there's two sides to this argument, and it's really a tough decision. I think that the political environment that they are throwing Discovery in is very interesting and has a ton of possibilities, as long as they're done properly. Now you got to remember too, we've still got the Tholians, we've still got the Gorn are known about, I believe, but I'm not sure they're causing any problems with the Federation at the time. I know the Gorns and the Klingons have a history together. So do the Gorns and the Romulans. The Gorns also have plasma torpedoes, and those kind of weapons. They are kind of natural foes with the Romulans. And that's one of the reasons, that's one of the theories that why we didn't hear from the Romulans for 80 years before TNG is because they were defending their other borders against other threats like the Gorn and the Tholians, the Kzinti, the Lyrans, the Hydrans. You got all these other races that, again, come from Starfleet battles, but also come from the Star Trek mythos that was mentioned in technical manuals and things like that have been kind of seeded throughout non-canon history. And I think to explore some of that would be great, like Emrys's culture, the Cetaceans, cat-like people, would be fantastic to learn more about them. I know they're a member of the Federation, but there's also is it the Kzinti? The Kzintis are also cat-like creatures as well. Yeah, I believe so. Anyway, so I like incorporating Starfleet battle stuff because there's such a rich history there and a rich, fulfilled environment and universe that they created around that. Same with FASTA stuff. And somebody in my last Captain's Log commented, why would, if books and novels aren't canon, why would a stupid game be canon? Or a stupid role or a tabletop game or whatever he said. Board game, and which I commented it's not a board game because it's a tabletop interactive role-playing combat simulator. But anyway, why can't it be canon? There's more thought put into game dynamics and gameplay than is usually put into a novel. A novel is very focused on one storyline. The gameplay mechanics of Starfleet battles and FASTA incorporated all the races. They had histories for each ship, why each ship was developed. It goes into a lot more detail. It's done by more people. It's its own universe, its own world, its own canon, as it were. And it very much has been developed and thought about and really fits together perfectly with itself and with established canon, because that's all they had to go on at the time was the movies and stuff that we had in the 80s. So the FASTA and the Starfleet battles filled in the gaps between movies, and that's why, like I've said before, that is why we're so adamant, us older people, about that being our canon, because we didn't have anything. We didn't have even a TV series in the works as a future. This could happen. Like between Star Trek, the motion picture, and Star Trek 2, and between Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 3, in the 80s. It wasn't until later that, all of a sudden, whispers of this next series without Kirk and Spock, 80 years in the future. Oh my God, why would they do that? That's awful. Came about, but that started its whole own thing. So yeah, that's why we ate that stuff up. That's why we read it back to front and front to back and analyzed everything. And, those were our Bibles, our canon, and that's why a lot of people, when Enterprise came out and changed that, got really upset, me included. But now that I'm rewatching Enterprise, I love the fact that it's different. It's the whole temporal incursion thing that really changed things around, and with the temporal incursion thing, basically anything is possible. So I don't really have a problem with Enterprise anymore. I think we can fit it all into this loose canon. And like I said before, have your own head canon as well. So, kind of getting off topic a little bit, but the whole era of Discovery, and that's exactly what this time period is. These Constitution-class ships, the 12 of them that were initially launched, were built for exploration and discovery. We are at peace with everybody. There are some rising hostilities between the Federation and the Klingons right now. We just finished the Romulan War. We just finished the thing with the Xindi. We've just formed this new Federation, this new universal or galactic or whatever you want to call it, envisioning of working together with other races and expanding our knowledge and, you know, incorporating differences from different races into one governing body, I guess. Governing body seems a little bit harsh. I don't know what to say there. But it seriously is it's a time of discovery. So the name Discovery fits beautifully in this time period to create a ship called Discovery. The issue that I have with that is, from what we've seen of the ship, there are a lot of weapons on board, and they're newer style weapons than the TOS ships have, which is fine. It's built after the Connies have been launched, at least as far as we can tell. So it's kind of between the Connies and the refits. So it could be that those ball turrets are, again, an experimental addition, and it's the Discovery is a test bed for those experimental weapons platforms. Do have quite a bit of ball turrets as well, but we're speculating here because the ship has changed quite a bit. I'm not going to get into all the changes that have been done to it, but I know that there are some extensive changes, so we're just kind of basing this on older stuff that we've heard. But getting back to what I was saying, it is a time of discovery, of exploration, of getting out there and just kind of learning about what makes the universe, the galaxy, and our region of space tick. And it's that Cold War aspect with the Klingons that I think is going to play the major role in this series. As I discussed in my last Captain's Log, which Klingon Captain, and everybody was freaking out saying, well, why there wouldn't be a Klingon Captain? There's Worf, the first Klingon in Starfleet. It's like, ugh. Did you do more than look at the thumbnail? Maybe. You think you should maybe watch the video? Apparently nobody watches the video anymore. I had to deal with so many comments like that. I got a little bit snarky with a few people that I shouldn't have, and I apologize. But obviously, they're saying there's going to be a Klingon Captain. It's not going to be on Starfleet, in Starfleet. It's going to be the head bad guy. It's going to be the Tomahawk, the Commander Tomahawk that shows up every once in a while to screw with Picard. It's going to be the Gul Dukat that is a main player, but not in every episode. And, you know, sometimes wins, sometimes loses. He's going to be a main sticky point with the captain of the Discovery. That's what the new Klingon Captain is going to be about. And it's going to be a D7 Captain, maybe. It's going to be somebody that's going to be a regular and going to be a pain in the ass. Maybe not always in a bad way. Maybe sometimes he helps out, much like Gul Dukat. Sometimes he was a pretty good guy. Other times he was a complete asshole. So that's what that was about. That's just another pet peeve of mine. The whole comments on that last Captain's Log, just based on the thumbnail, really pissed me off. Watch the video if you're going to comment. Don't just look at the thumbnail and go, oh, okay, I know what it's about. I'm going to write a comment. I hate that so much. But anyway, a lot of people tend to do that these days because of the short attention spans of this generation. But, moving right along. As we were saying, there's that tension, that Cold War vibe with the Klingons. There's that, are we at peace? We're on the verge of war kind of thing. And I think that's a very cool political environment to create a series in. The Klingons are going to be a major part of the series, is from what I can imagine in my head and kind of from what we've heard. And I would like to see smooth-headed and Imperial Klingons as well working together on the same ships and things. Whether you take the FASA explanation for that, which I explained in my last Captain's Log, or you take the established Canon Enterprise one, that both works, that there would be both serving on each ship. So I really don't have an issue with that. I think that would be very cool to see that. And still hear whisperings of the Romulans, because the war is just over, so everybody's kind of on edge with the Romulans, like, oh, what are they going to do? And hear little rumors and, you know, kind of political intrigue about that. Is there spies still for the Romulans? And what do Romulans look like? We don't know. It's like us with the Breen now. What do the Breen look like? I want to know what a Breen looks like. We don't know what a Breen looks like. These people at this time are thinking the same thing about the Romulans because there was no visual communications ever established. Even in Enterprise, they held true to that, which was cool. The reason for the initial one in the prime timeline, the old canon, with the Daedalus class ships and stuff, was because there was no... the technology for visual communications wasn't quite established. They were older ships, much like submarine-style ships, so there was no visual communications, but there was audio communications, and the treaty was actually signed via subspace audio for the peace treaty. So, I mean, in Enterprise, of course, everyone would have visual communications. They just chose, the Romulans just chose not to show themselves, probably to keep that edge that they look like the Vulcans. I think that was a good ploy on their part. Much goes into the Klingon thing as well. Why the Klingons in FASA made themselves look human. To keep the humans on their toes going, do we have spies among us? Because they look exactly like us. So for the Romulans not to show themselves in Enterprise because they look like Vulcans, I think is a fantastic idea, because what better way to infiltrate the Federation or Starfleet or Earth than be one of the Vulcans, who are kind of assholes anyway in Enterprise. And even the game Star Trek Legacy, the main spoilers, by the way, the main bad guy, the woman who's a Vulcan, turns out to be a Romulan. Not much of a shock, really. But so those whisperings of what if the Romulans are still looking to get us? What if they're still out for us? What if they aren't abiding by their peace treaties? That political environment, plus the Klingons, the imminent hostilities with the Klingons, just about to boil over, but we're kind of keeping it on a simmer. I think it's a fantastic time to do a series, but do it right, and mention species that we know exist because of TAS. Lieutenant Eric's species, with the 3 arms. Emrys's species, the Cetaceans, they do exist. They are there. Yeah, the Hydrants, the Lyrans, bring in all those guys. The Andromedans and the Interstellar Concordium from Starfleet Battles don't really need to be brought in. I think those were just added to the game to make it more dynamic and to have bigger bad guys, but it would still be cool to see or have mention of them or something. But the main ones, like the Lyrans, the Konzinsis, the Hydrants, these kind of guys, the Orion Pirates, that play a very important aspect of the Alpha and Beta quadrants and the Federation, I think need to be included. The Tholians need to be mentioned. The Gorn need to be mentioned. The Tholians are a big pain in the ass for a lot of people. If you watched our 100th episode anniversary episode, it's on the Tholian culture and how they came here from another galaxy and how they kind of parked themselves in a part of space, and it was Klingon space and disputed space, and they have a bunch of back and forth with the Klingons. The Tholians and the Klingons don't get along. Hearing things like that mentioned in Discovery would be great. It's not necessary, don't get me wrong. I won't be pissed off if it doesn't happen. I just think it'd be a nice little nod to hear, oh yeah, one of the Klingon captains during his talk with his crew or with our Starfleet captain says, oh, the Tholians, blah, 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 we're having problems with this race of crystalline entities or whatever. I don't know. I think it'd be cool. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble, but I think where they put Discovery is a fantastic idea for a series. I personally didn't want to see another prequel, and I understand everybody's kind of annoyance at that, and I just want to speak up and say, you know what, I think it'll work. Little nods to side canon would be greatly appreciated. To see like a Daedalus class ship in the background, or an Enterprise NX refit would be great to see those in the background. To see a Connie flying around, see the established TOS fleet. I would even love to see on screen finally a TOS scout, a single engine scout, or a dreadnought. And I know there's a whole debate about the pairs rule and whether a scout or a dreadnought could exist. That's fine, whatever. I just think that putting those little touches in the background would be really something that we'll really appreciate as fans. So I think they're going to do a fantastic job with it. I'm hoping they'll do a fantastic job with it. So yeah, and I just want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think about the political landscape? Do you want to see the Gorn or the Tholians mentioned at least? What are your takes on the whole Romulan War just being over, the whole situation with the Xindi, and you know, I'm sure the civilians, much like we've talked about with Eric Henry in Pacific 201, the civilians on Earth are like, why are we tempting fate? Why are we going out there and getting in hostile scrapes and bringing attention to Earth and having people come here with big weapons and destroy, you know, a big part of Florida and kill 7 million people? Why are we doing that when we can just stick to our system? I'm sure there's a lot of that going on around at the time as well, because we never really see the civilian side of Star Trek. And I know it's not supposed to be military per se, but it is. It essentially is a military organization, Starfleet. So we never really see about life on Earth. It would be cool to kind of see that kind of aspect as well. What it's like to live on this utopian Earth where everyone gets along. You don't have to work. You can basically do what you enjoy for a job or for a pastime or a hobby. That's never really been explored. We see it occasionally with like Ben Sisko's dad working at the restaurant and things like that, but I don't know. I think the new series has a lot of potential. I know a lot of people are saying that it's doomed and it's been pushed back and we're not going to see it. But we've just recently talked to people that are in the know and work behind the scenes that, you know, they're still firing away on all cylinders with this thing. So I'm not too concerned that it's not going to happen. Discovery will happen, and I think it's going to be fantastic, and it's going to be a great... I hope it's going to be great. That's all I can say. But yeah, so anyway, guys, sorry for kind of rambling here. I hope this has made some kind of sense. I just wanted to kind of set the scene for you guys and kind of explain my take on why I think it might be a great idea to make it a prequel. Even though, despite my better judgment, they did that. I think that it would have been better if they had gone with an era that we don't know. Even post-Voyager, it would have been fantastic. Then they could do pretty much anything. Because they don't have to consider STO or Star Trek Online canon. So they can, you know, change things up or build towards Star Trek Online. Because I think CBS, it's considered loose canon because it is oversaw by CBS. So it is kind of canon, plus they use a lot of the main characters and stuff. So is STO canon? That's another question. But anyway, maybe I'll get on to one or two comments from my last Captain's Log from you guys. So this one is from Sea Rocket Slim. Kang was meant to be a recurring character. Sort of a counter Kirk for Jim to play off of. Sorry for the cough. I approve of this. I wanted more of Kang. I wanted to see him in a movie. See, I think bringing in, or even mentioning one of the Dahar Masters, Kang, Kor, or Koloth, would be fantastic. Even to see them, a younger version of them. Maybe as a second in command on one of these ships, or just in the background before they became captain and got their own ship in TOS. Awesome idea. Awesome idea. Why not go with that? Alright, so this one comes from Many Enraged. Do you think that at the beginning of the Discovery that the Federation will still be called the United Coalition of Planets? Probably not. I think they might perhaps reference that, but I don't think it'll be called that initially. I think it would confuse fans, especially like newcomers to the show, if they change it halfway through the season or something to United Federation of Planets. So I don't think so, is my initial gut reaction. Secondly, do you think that in the first episode of Discovery we will have Admiral Archer sign a peace treaty with the Romulans to at least acknowledge that the war takes place? And then Mark Bernero says the coalition became the Federation in 2161, and the peace treaty with the Romulans is in 2160, according to Canon. It might be possible that it starts with the signing of the Romulan peace treaty, as long as it's via subspace and there's no Romulan like interaction where we can see them, I think would be great. I think it'd be a great way to start the first episode. And again, it holds on to that. We just finished a war with these people, so in the back of our minds, we're going to be thinking, are they still up to things, you know, or are they abiding by the rules? And I think I had mentioned earlier that it'd be cool to have a Romulan spy kind of in the mix on Discovery, as being disguised as a Vulcan, and sending information to the Romulans. We've heard that from Brian Fuller that there's going to be a touchstone to Balance of Terror, so sending myself to the podcast on it, and that was kind of my thought. It'd be cool to have a Romulan spy after the war, having infiltrated the Federation, and still kind of, we can see his side of it, but the crew doesn't know that they're Romulan, obviously. I think that'd be kind of cool. So yeah, I would love to see it start out with the signing of the peace treaty, and Admiral Archer would be awesome. Scott Bakula's at the right age where he can still do that. Yes, please do that. That'd be amazing. Well, guys, there's so many comments on this last Captain's log that I'm not going to get into them all. A lot of them are like saying that they're sorry to hear about Sally. Thank you, guys. I am getting over it. I do miss her. The house is just empty without her. It's just missing its heart and soul, basically. She's always been there. When you walk upstairs, she's lying there. When the kids come downstairs in the morning, she's always there. She's always there looking at you when you're eating, and she's just has been missing for a few days, and it's just, the house is very hollow right now. Poor little Dot, our little Chihuahua, is kind of always looking out the window, wondering when Sally's coming back. So it's kind of heartbreaking that way. And I'm starting to cheer up now again. But yeah, thank you for all your kind words about Sally. She will be missed. She was a great dog, and I absolutely love her to pieces. Always will, and hope to see her soon. But anyway, what do you guys think about have I changed your minds a little bit about the political landscape of Discovery? Are you kind of more on board for having a prequel? I'm just trying to find the good in this. I know there was also the War of Axanar, the 4-year war. I didn't really want to touch on that too much because of the whole Axanar thing going on. And since Discovery is right around that time, kind of when that would end, there was a big confrontation with the Klingons that would also be leading up to this whole, we're going to mutually destroy each other, we need to calm the hell down and come at this Cold War aspect of things. So I don't think that they'll mention the Battle of Axanar. It was established in canon long before, or not canon, FASA, long before as the 4-year war. It's a thing, and yeah, I got myself a little thing here I gotta close down, so cancel. Technical problems here at Trekyards Command. Sorry, guys. It is a thing that happened, and at least in FASA history, it was mentioned in TOS as well, and Captain Garth and things. But I don't think they're going to mention that in Discovery. If they do, they won't make a big deal out of it, I don't think. I don't think that's the whole reason that this thing came about. This whole lawsuit, I don't think so. I've heard lots of rumors about that as well, that because they had CBS had planned to do this series that was set in this time period, and then that's why they sued Axanar. Well, I don't know, whatever. I don't want to get into all that right now. But as far as Klingon captains go from the last Captain's log, got a few suggestions on who they'd like to see. Christopher Walken would be a good one. Smooth or Ridgehead, that wouldn't care. I have a suggestion. How about Captain Foley? Captain Foley for the Klingon captain. I don't know. You can make up your own Klingon name for me, but damn, I make a good Klingon, do I not? Let's do this up. Let's make this happen. I got a Batleth. I got a Disruptor over there. I got the Klingon Art of War. I know how to be a Klingon. There's an episode of Trekyards coming up where we talk to Rick about the Vorcha. I'm in full Klingon mode in that episode. I rant and rave like a Klingon. You're gonna love it, guys. If you love seeing me act like an idiot, you're gonna love it because I act like a Klingon and it's fantastic. Samuel and Rick both got a big laugh out of it. So yeah, there's that. So Klingon Captain Foley, maybe? I don't know. Alright, guys. Call that a wrap. So comment below. What aspect of this time period do you want to see explored? Do you think it's a good political environment for a series? Things like that. Any personal questions you want to ask me, so I can actually get to some personal questions in my Captain's Log next time as well, should time allow such. But yes, and maybe a topic. Give me a topic for the next Captain's Log as well that I can talk on that you guys would like to hear. That would be fantastic as well. So, I guess that's it from Captain Foley for today. Should I exit out with it? What would Captain Kirk do? Yes, here's a piece of advice for all of you. Cough excluded. There are always consequences. Try it again. Take 2. There are always consequences to time travel. Always. Will there be time travel in Discovery? Probably. Is that something you want to see? Who knows? Lots to talk about, guys. Looking forward to your comments and questions. And looking forward to seeing you all next week. Until then, I'm still Captain Foley, or Klingon Foley. Love to hear your guys' names that you make up for me for that. And don't say idiot. That's not a good one. You know. Captain Foley. I don't know. There's got to be something good out there. Anyway, guys. Till next time, I'm Captain Foley, and it's been a pleasure talking to you all. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.